To get started, the ball has several different uses. One of my favorite is to use it as a training tool. Anytime you're introducing something new to your horse, you need to use caution, because if the horse is scared of something, like the ball, it could spook the horse towards you. So whenever I am introducing something new, I always make sure that I have my horse on a longer line and that I can move the ball away from the horse. Moving the ball away from the horse encourages the curiosity of the horse and keeps you safe, because if the horse really wants to leave, it can go away from you and away from the ball. I always do it in a safely enclosed area, but big enough that the horse can escape if necessary. Once I get my horse accustomed to rolling the ball away, I like to start with bouncing the ball, because bouncing the ball is going to be a little bit more threatening to the horse than rolling it was. Instead of starting standing still, if I start by bouncing and standing still, this could be more threatening to my horse. So it takes a little bit more coordination, but you've got to practice without your horse getting it bouncing while walking away. This makes a lot more noise. You can see the horse, even though this one's not really scared of the ball, you can see that he raises his head more and that he's a little more aware of where it is. Once again, I want to keep everybody safe. I want to keep myself safe, so I don't have this line wrapped around my arm in any way, and I'm walking away from the horse. If your horse is more scared, you can walk longer, straighter lines, because it's going to give the horse more distance. As you want to get closer to the horse's body, walking smaller circles is going to bring the ball closer to your horse without necessarily crowding your horse. Make sure you get good with both directions so that you can make sure that you introduce this to the horse on both sides. Once your horse is okay with the ball while you're bouncing and walking away, then we'll move to bouncing and standing still. Keep your lines organized so you don't get anything wrapped around you. And then we can go ahead and we can bounce the ball here around the horse. If your horse shows resistance to this and wants to move away, do more of the walking. Eventually, you want to be able to bring the ball around near the horse's sides and bounce it. I would suggest that if you haven't done any training techniques that introduce things that are scary to your horse, that you start with some other objects like a stick and string, lunge whip, and some of those obstacles that are a little bit easier to manage than the ball is at first. Then you want to work your way up to the ball. One of my favorite reasons for using the ball is with colts. Before I saddle them, I want to get them accustomed to the ball, being able to bounce the ball around, and then eventually being able to bounce the ball and have it hit the horse and bounce it off the horse's sides. I believe that getting the horse accustomed to this random bouncing is good, because when you put the saddle on, the stirrups are going to bounce around there and randomly bump into your horse's legs and side. And because the ball is a lot more random, it's harder to get around, it's harder to bounce around, it causes adults who tend to be really, really precise about everything they do to be a little bit more random, which is an important thing to remember when you're working with your horse. Couple safety tips. This horse is already broke to this ball. This horse is very quiet with the ball. Couple things you don't want to do with a horse that's just being introduced is take the ball and roll it underneath their belly. Because when you take the ball and roll it underneath their belly, when the ball pops out on the other side of the horse, it's likely to scare the horse, and the horse would spook back and jump on you. Same thing with going over the horse's back. Although I do eventually get the horses quiet enough with it that I can bounce it along their sides and even rest it up on them, I keep in mind that I don't want to let this ball go over their back or under their belly when I'm this close. Another fun thing to do with the ball is to allow the horses to play with it. This is a ball that's specifically made for horses, so it's heavier duty than the balls that you're going to find at at an exercise store, so this will hold up to a lot more use, wear, and tear. When you're storing the ball, it'll last longer if you keep it out of the sun the majority of the time, so don't leave it out in your fields for weeks and weeks. I'm going to go ahead and take off Vaquero's halter and show you some of how he likes to play with the ball. Once again, I want to stay safe, so I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to roll it over that direction and let him go explore it. Many horses really enjoy playing with the ball. It's great exercise, it's fun. For horses that are extremely curious and playful, the ball can give them hours of entertainment. Once your horse has fully accepted the ball from the ground, another great way to use it is by using it as a soccer ball from the horse's back. One of the reasons I like to do this, aside from the fact that it's really fun, is because it gets your horse accustomed to you steering it in not quite as a routine way as you might when you're riding without this tool. When I ride around, it gives my horse two different things that he has to focus on. He has to focus on me and responding correctly to the bit and my leg, and he's slightly distracted because of his attention being on the ball. So it's another great training tool to get your horse more advanced. Eventually, it's fun if you have teams of 2 or more riders and you can set up a game of soccer. Another fun use for the training ball is for you to practice your own balance. I discovered when I first had the ball, I'd been riding bareback quite a bit and my muscles were sore, and when I challenged myself to sit on the ball and balance, I noticed that all the muscles that were already sore from me riding bareback were being used. As a rider, it really gets you focused on the idea that when you sit on your horse, it's not about wrapping your legs around your horse and trying to hold on tighter. It's the idea that when you would balance on something, that you would actually open your body up and be able to move yourself around. So sitting on the ball like this is a great way to practice finding your center and finding your balance. You'll notice that if I look down, I start having more trouble with staying centered over the ball, where if I look up and I focus ahead, and then I have to focus on my breathing, and so I need to focus on really trying to get myself quiet and still. When I was first learning this, what I discovered was that I needed to practice actually moving it side to side, left and right, to find where that balance was. One concern that you should rightfully have is the idea that you could roll over backwards. And the way that you want to do that is if you do feel yourself losing your balance and going backwards, lean forward, because then you'll roll forward and hug the ball. So in a safe location, this can be a lot of fun. You want to blow the ball up to where your toes just touch the ground when you lean forward. Then you want to move over, relax, and then time yourself to see how long you can sit on the ball. One thing you'll notice when you get on the ball is that if you have a predominant habit of leaning one direction or the other, it's going to show up when you get on the ball. So if you notice that you're always falling off to the right-hand side, then that's probably a habit that you have when you're horseback riding. So go ahead and work on that while you're on the ball, and maybe even lean yourself off to the left side a few times until sitting centered is the most natural.